I am back to Easy Street, meaning that I'm reading a book that's very straightforward and not something like Conway, which I've been reading recently and was very painful. And so now in the next few weeks, I'll be reading from Thomson, Bruckner, TBB. I also completed problems for chapter 1. So I'm going to show right here what I have read. And then also I did all these problems. So yeah, problems in chapter 1. And I'll be talking about the problems in chapter 1 first, for which I think I'll need to show Mendelssohn. And I love TBB, and I'm definitely going to do the whole book and attempt most of the problems. And in this case, I did attempt almost all the problems in chapter 1. So I'm just going to page through them. There's no special problem I think that I want to highlight. Your basic set theory problems, your basic Archimedean property problems, and field axioms, things having to do with Archimedean, there you have it. Any bounded non-empty subset of the integers has a maximum and a minimum. Getting a lot of practice in writing out proofs. Someday I'd love to take a course so that somebody can tell me if anything that I'm writing makes any sense. But yeah, I love TBB because it's got a lot of problems. The way the problems are laid out is, the progression is very clear. All the problems are really doable. Then they've got a couple of challenging problems at the end. They're in the section 111. Of course, the field axioms for complex numbers is done in Baby Rudin, but I wanted to practice anyways. But then there's a couple of harder problems, and one of them, I think it's 111.3, is the reason why I brought our friend Mendelssohn. Because what they're really asking to lay out in the question, I'll bring out the question. So it just gives you an idea of why I think reading Mendelssohn was so worth it. So worth it. And I'm not going to page too much for this, incredibly enough. So it's this problem right here, and it's all saying, attempt a proof. They know, I think they know that you'd have to look this up. This proof, that is, showing that two ordered fields are isomorphic, is a proof in Mendelssohn. Right here. So, and the way it is done is by using the rational subfields of each of the two fields, and knowing from a previous theorem right here that for any two ordered fields, name K and F, the ordered rational subfields Q of K, Q of F are isomorphic. Because they're isomorphic, then you can set up the proof. And of course, this is exactly what is laid out in TBB. But I really didn't sit down and go through this again. I've done it before, but I really don't understand this at the level that is worth doing right now. But it's a comeback. I on purpose said, okay, I'll make a note of it just so that I can remember that I gave it a poor man's try. Then there was a very interesting problem, all having to do with inductive sets. It's the problem 111.4, where you go and think about all the different inductive sets that you could get out of the real numbers, an infinite number, of course. And then ways to play with them so you can prove the induction theorem. I gave it a good try. So yeah, and then a very interesting problem about being dense, a set being dense in another set. I also gave that a really good solid try. I find that it's always better to try, even if what I do I think is not completely correct. And yeah, so that was chapter 1 problems. And then back to the reading. In the case of the reading, I completed reading chapter 2, let me go through the table of contents briefly, just so that you all see where I'm going with this, because I'm going to be reading in the next couple of weeks. I've already read chapter 1 a long time ago, way back when. Read chapter 2 for this, and I'm talking about it in this video. And I'm halfway through chapter 3. Section 3.6, all these tests for convergence, is one of the great things about TBB. This book is fantastic. I've said many things about it before, and I'll say it again. It's really well written, really well done. It just flows. It flows like silk. And so I'm halfway here. I'm actually at Coomer's test 369. And then I aim to read 4, 5, 6, everything before differentiation, and then go back to the very back and read 13, which is metric spaces. That's the plan in the next couple of weeks. And so, yeah. So for chapter 2, it's all about limits. All about limits, properties of limits, monotone convergence criterion. I got to come back to this. The way e to the x is broken, this is actually discussed in Baby Rudin. And at some point I want to come back and review it and compare how TBB did it and how Baby Rudin does it, of going through and taking the summation of e to the x and the 1 plus x over n to the n way of describing e to the x. Not describing, actually showing that it is. And I know in Baby Rudin he comes at them from different sides. I think he uses this summation from the left and comes at it with this one from the right. But I need to understand it better. I need to understand it better. So I'm making a mental note to come back to it. And of course, when I get to do the problems is when I will do that. Then you get all your convergence tests. And I've made a video about this before, that when it comes to sequences and series, I think this book is the best one of the selection that I'm using for the Baby Rudin project. Really well explained, gory detail, and tons of problems. So I'm really looking forward to doing problems in this book. I'll just show my notes briefly, but it's sort of repetitive because I just showed the book. And it's a lot of notes, which is great. Oh, and actually, my factor right now is 26.3. So I've got 196 pages of notes. 196 pages of homework, work, and then 745 pages of reading. I'm going to try to be between 20 and 25. I'm going to try to be above 25, heading to 50, but I don't think I can do that anytime soon because I've got a lot of reading that I want to do. So I will not let myself to go under 20, and I'll do problems to make sure that I don't. That's a goal. Then just the notes for chapter 2, and I just showed them to you. I just showed you the pages in the book. Yeah, TBB rocks. And so now in this phase of the project for reading, I'll be reading from Thomson, Bruckner. I'll be reading from Abbott, and I'll be reading from Barlow and Sherbert, a little bit from Baby Rudin. And then problems, at some point I'll get back and do some topology problems. But as far as reading is concerned, we're entering what I call easy street. Limits, series, sequences, convergence and divergence of series, all the tests. That is a lot of fun, my friends. A lot of fun.